It's Monday, October 24th, and you're listening to the Geek News Central podcast, sponsored by GoDaddy.com. Geek News Central is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Geek News Central is sponsored in part by GoToMeeting, now with HD Faces, the world's best web conferencing solution. Get your free trial at GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the promo code podcast. Everyone got a great show lined up for you. You know what comes next. Strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We'll go fly.
Microphone.
We'll go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right, I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There's no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to the Geek News Central podcast, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii via the Geek News Central studio overlooking Greater Honolulu. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Of course, my name is Todd Cochran, and I want to encourage you to join me over at geeknewscentral.com. Check out all our great content. We've got a great bevy of writers that produce daily content on the site about relevant topics in the tech world and everything in between. And, of course, we have a lot of shows at GNC. We've got Robot Underpants, a Gadget Professor, Saturday Morning Tech, and, of course, soon to return the Chrome Show. And if all goes right, we're going to have a new show launch here in the next couple of weeks called Tech Rants. And we're going to have a new host for that. I'm taking auditions right now, so I'm pretty excited about bringing a new show to the network, a short show that's done every week, basically ranting about what's going on in the tech world. And the host of that will pick a couple of specific topics that may be of interest to them that's going on and discuss it thoroughly. So it should be a lot of fun. But, of course, we want to welcome our listeners from around the world. And, of course, new followers that are following us here on the show from Google+. Thanks for following and watching the show. I want to encourage you to get signed up for the newsletter. The newsletter contains everything that I'm going to talk about tonight in the show. And all you really got to do is go over to geeknewscentral.com, click on the newsletter link on the top of the website. That'll get you on the page where you need to be subscribed. And, of course, you can subscribe to the show right on the pages or on the main page of the website as well. You see there links for the audio, the video, special media feed, morning tech. Get subscribed to them all. That way you'll never miss a single episode of all the great content on the website. And that's really how you stay in touch and how you stay connected here. And but the main thing is to tune in twice a week when I'm doing this show every Monday and Thursday. Release the show every Tuesday and Friday. So that makes sure that you'll be abreast of all the latest content. Of course, we're doing the show tonight at live.geeknewscentral.com, and it'll be simulcast later, techpodcast.com/live, the network that we belong to. Child safe content over at TPN, so definitely check out all the shows over there. Hey, if you've got comments about the show, you can tweet me at Geek News, or you can email me at geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com, or call the voicemail hotline at 619-342-7365 and leave your comments about the show. If you want to help support the show, you can do so by going over to cafepress.com/Ohana Store, cafepress.com/Ohana Store. I have the link up in the show notes for you on that, where you can pick up all your Ohana wear. Of course, we want to welcome our sponsors to the show, and tonight I want to talk just a little bit here about GoDaddy and some products that we've got coming to the forefront with them. Of course, you can always find all my codes over at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. That'll get you linked right into all of the specific savings that we have. And that guarantees that you're going to have the best savings all the time, no matter what you buy over there. There's really a code there for everything. And we hope that you'll use those codes. And check out a special deal we got going on right now. It's called Website Tonight. You can save 20% on Website Tonight by picking up a 12, 24, or 36-month plan. And basically, You'll find the code to that right at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. It's Geek12. But the thing to remember about that code is if you just click on the link on the website, it's going to take you right into GoDaddy and preload the code for you so that you guarantee that you're not going to really be missing out on the deal. And this is really a great product for people that are a little less technologically inclined and want to get up and running quickly. 3,000 designs and color combinations in their template library. They've got 120 pre-built websites, so all you got to do is click and load. All the favorite publishing systems are in there, photo albums, and all kinds of add-ons that you can add to the site as well that will really get you. Oh, that's not supposed to be popping up there. But all kinds of different types of features, and you can compare plans with other services, and it's really easy, and I think that's the best part of it. So anyway, get our 20% off on website tonight on 12, 24, 36-month plans. Geek12 is the code, and we want to thank GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central. I'm all thumbs tonight, so I'm having a lot of fun here, and anyway, we want to thank GoDaddy again for being a sponsor. All right, let me go ahead and look in my stack here. I kind of lost my page where I was at. There we go. Brought that up. We definitely want to just to give you a real quick rundown. This past weekend, I felt like my butt was planted in this chair the entire weekend. I had a ton of proposals. I had Blog World presentation to write. I had reports to do. I mean, it led from one thing to another, and it was like I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Yes, I'm insane. And then I sat in this chair, getting up to, eat, use the facilities. I did do about a 30-minute exercise break. They did take some time in the middle of the day, but by about 8:30 in the evening, Sunday night, I was just like, ugh, I just could, my brain was mush. And I just walked into the living room. My wife said, "Oh, you finally came out to breathe." And I'm like, "Yes, I did." And she said, "Did you get caught up?" And believe it or not, I didn't get all the way caught up. I didn't get everything done that needs to be done. I've got 2 other reports to do. We'll get those knocked out this week, but I'm getting ready to leave on Friday. I'm going to head to Detroit, going to buzz out and visit my mom for a couple of days. Then Tuesday, I'm going to be at Ford Motor Company in Dearborn for a special event. Don't know anything about what we're going to see. So it's going to be a little mystery involved here. But be out there Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday. And then I actually fly out pretty early Wednesday afternoon for Los Angeles, get into LA about 7 o'clock, I think, into LAX. And then I'll be at Blog World, a New Media Expo, there at the Convention Center Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then Sunday, get back on an airplane out of LAX, fly to Washington, D.C. I'm going to be staying in Fairfax, Virginia. So I have a full week of activities in the D.C. area. And then Friday, fly home. And I'm going to get home just about the time APEC is starting here in Hawaii, the Asian Pacific Economic Conference. And it is going to be mayhem. And I thought I was going to miss most of it. But the dignitaries are actually like arriving Friday and going to be doing their conferences through Sunday. So the president and everyone else is going to be here. And of course, what day am I flying back? Friday. I can already anticipate delays, and I'm just going to go with the flow and see how it is. But so anyway, 2 weeks out and then back here to Honolulu. So lots going on. The shows are just really cranked up right now on Geek News Central. So we're hitting on all cylinders. We got a big announcement tomorrow morning on a press release from Samsung. We're doing our official announcement from them with being on their new smart TV series, basically being in there as an app. And Q2 probably launching tomorrow, soft launch. So lots going on, and I'll have a very busy week and ramped up to Blog World. But you guys don't want to hear that. You guys want to hear some tech, and I'll do that here in just a second. We'll get right in tonight. I'm going to try to keep the length of the show to a decent time because I've been going a little bit long on the last 3 or 4 shows, which is starting to show. Some of you are voting with your departure from being subscribed, and I can understand when we keep you away too long, it's not good. So let's get into tech. But first of all, with everyone working on the go and holding impromptu meeting can really be impossible. And this is really not an issue anymore because GoToMeeting by Citrix, you can host your meeting online from your computer while your attendees join from any computer or an iPad. And now from an iPhone or any Android mobile device too. Now with GoToMeeting, with the GoToMeeting app, with the free app, anyone can attend your online meeting sessions. They just tap the email invitation. The app loads the GoToMeeting session, and they're in, and they're looking at your computer screen and can communicate back and forth. This is just absolutely fantastic. And I've done this both ways. I've been the host, and I've been actually on my iPad, or actually been on my iPhone. And it's a little bit tricky on the iPhone because you're looking at you're not have as much screen space, obviously, but it does work. And you can attend meetings on the go, or connect with people that are on the go. And I highly recommend GoToMeeting to all of you, and it's going to change the way you work. And I want you to try GoToMeeting today. And it's really simple. All you got to do is come over to geeknewscentral.com, click on the GoDaddy banner, or go over to GoToMeeting.com directly. And really, all you have to do there is visit the GoToMeeting website, and you'll click the Try It Free button and use the promo code podcast when you sign up. Or just go ahead and by clicking the banner, you'll come over to the website. Also, I want to make sure that you go over to the App Store and download those apps, because you never know when you're going to have a meeting with someone, and you're going to need to basically get involved. And it's kind of cool to have that particular app at your disposal. So definitely check it out. Oh, we don't want to have that sponsor. Let's put that sponsor up. There we go. So again, try GoToMeeting for free for 30 days by going to GoToMeeting.com and use the promo code podcast. So let me go ahead and see if I can come back. What's going on? There we go. So that was weird what was going on there. I had a weird screen up in my preview screen. So that was odd. Okay, so let me go ahead and bounce that out. And let's go ahead and talk tech. And that's what you all are here for. I had a blue screen of death today with my desktop. First time that's ever happened. So little concerned, because that's usually a sign of something's not quite right. But something's not quite right in the Sprint world as well. Apparently Sprint and Apple are having a nationwide data speed problem. Those of you that picked up a iPhone 4S from Sprint some of you are seeing some significant network slowdowns with download speeds just horrendous. And they've acknowledged an issue, but they're not saying when they're going to have a fix or when they're going to come up with an update. But both Sprint and Apple are working on this in a big way, and we'll see where this leads. Apparently, those that are using the iPhone 4 on Sprint are not seeing this issue at all. I'll be honest with you. I've been using my Sprint 3G/4G card here a lot recently, and there is definitely a major slowdown to the point of, and this is just on my EVDO card. This is not even on the phone, but I can tell their network is definitely getting hammered. And so what can you do? What can you really do here? You just have to kind of see what happens. But Sprint's days are numbered in my book for a number of reasons. They announced, I think we talked about on the last show, they announced that they're basically getting rid of their all-you-can-eat data plans. Those of you with smartphones are safe, but those of us with like MiFi cards like I have, you can say goodbye to your unlimited plan on 4G, because 4G and 3G are going to be lumped together starting November 1st for everybody. They didn't grandfather anyone in, which I think is absolutely insane. I mean, my brain exploded when I saw the news on this on Friday. Steam was coming out of my ears, and I said a few comments that were not show safe, to say the least. But I may just at this point be shopping for, I like to have two mobile cards. And the reason I do is that some areas you have better coverage than others. And, the luck I've been having with Sprint, it's obvious that they are not, they've got major issues right now. And maybe it's just time to, pick up a data card for AT&T maybe, and have just Verizon AT&T. If I'm going to be data capped, what's the use in staying on Sprint? There's really no use whatsoever. So maybe it's time to make the jump. But funny thing is, I didn't get one of their notices in email or via the postal service, so it's kind of odd. So I need to call them and check. Hey, if you've got a moon rock, first of all, don't tell anybody. And for sure, don't call NASA. Don't call NASA and say, hey, what can I sell this moon rock? Apparently a 74-year-old woman who had a speck of a moon rock decided that she was going to maybe add to her retirement pile and called the NASA and see if she could sell it. And what proceeded then was basically an arranged meeting by her and NASA officials, police, and a bunch of other individuals in law enforcement. Met her at a Denny's or something, and it wasn't a nice thing how they took this moon rock away from her. She's saying that they grabbed her and pulled her out of the booth, and they didn't have to, if that's the case, they didn't have to do that. She's there giving the moon rock up, nicely, and they're just being a bunch of AWSs. So, it'll be interesting what happens here. She has consulted a legal representative, and she's trying to discover whether NASA can prove that her speck of moon is indeed government property. I think the rules are that NASA owns any moon dust, dirt, materials, or anything like that. She claims that it was given, this little speck was given to her husband by astronaut Neil Armstrong. So we'll see on this one. But you definitely don't, if you had a moon rock, you want to keep that baby hid away. That's for sure. Now, something that's being talked about in the space, and I'm going to have to really do some investigation because the New York Times is saying that Apple is lowering their prices, and it's all part of a plan to become more competitive. The last time I checked, I didn't see any lower prices. Now, their trade-in for the iPhone, which was subsidized, was obviously, a low price, but, the carriers are subsidizing that. And, but they're saying that there's a lot more going on with them trying to be more aggressive, but their pricing is still pretty high. Now, if you look at the original Mac Air book, it in 2008 was priced at $17.99. A year ago, they revamped the notebook to make it thinner and smaller, and they reduced the price to $9.99 and $12.99 for the models. So there's been a few companies, Dell, Acer, I believe, have both come out with competitive models to try to compete against that, and they're right in the same price range now, at least for the MacBook Air. But you look at a MacBook Pro, and you try to, look at a comparable laptop on the Windows side, much cheaper. So I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this article over in the New York Times about them lowering prices being a part of their plan. I think they're just trying to psych us out that the prices are lower and part of their plan. A lot of people are upset about the move Google did on hiding search referral info. And, of course, Google is basically not responding too much to the situation. They feel that there's a double standard involved here because if you are advertising for AdSense, if you're driving traffic to your website through AdSense, they're going to show you that referral traffic. And at the same time, they, with them getting looked at by antitrust folks and the FTC, I don't know if the right hand's talking to the left hand over there, but they definitely have upset a lot of people. And I've seen the effect on my referral data at Geek News Central. Same amount of traffic's coming here, but when I go and look at the search results, the list has narrowed. There's not as much, I'm not getting as much data. I'm getting a lot of unknown stuff. So that definitely is adding to, well, it's just going to cause us issues and trying to determine how to tweak traffic on the website. One thing we did notice, too, we had an article on Geek News Central. They got just a huge amount of tweet referrals. It's an article that came out today that Jeffrey wrote. It's the Siri founder leaving Apple, and it got 44 tweets. But when we went in and looked at the actual traffic, you would think that an article that has gotten 44 tweets would drive a lot of traffic, because typically we don't get that kind of tweet traffic. And we only had maybe 2,200 referrals to that article, but 44 tweets is pretty big. And, comparable articles will get much, much more traffic. So it's kind of weird, at least on our side, and this is obviously an oranges and apples type of thing because it's not related to Google. But, I'm getting this high tweet account. Why isn't that seeing a lot more referral data? Because it's being put in people's Twitter timeline. Maybe it just goes to prove that the Twitter timeline is not as effective as what everyone thinks it is. So anyway, but I like to see that number of tweets. It always looks impressive when you see that many. Of course, for a small site like Geek News Central. All right, there's a good article over on technologizer.com, basically going into the 10 important themes covered in the Steve Jobs book. Last night, I was basically wrapping up about, like I said, here in about 8:30 in the office / studio, and saw basically, I think it was a Google Plus announcement. Someone said, "Hey, I just got my Steve Jobs book. It's downloaded into my Kindle." So what I had done is I ordered a hard copy and I ordered digital. So I basically loaded up my iPad and went and checked. Boom, there it was. And I was like, so after I'm talking with my wife, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go get a shower and then I'm going to go read. And she's kind of looking at me, read what? And I showed her the Steve Jobs cover and she goes, oh, great. So she knew I was done for the evening. And I didn't get too far. I fell out early, but let's talk just a little bit about the book. 10 themes, and I don't want to spoil this for everyone, but because it's hard to stay away from the spoilers at this point. But on design, Steve Jobs would annoy Johnny Ive by taking credit for his design work. On apps, Steve Jobs resisted third-party apps on the iPhone. On the iPad, Jobs was annoyed and depressed following the iPad announcement. Got a lot of pushback. On Facebook, he admired that Zuckerberg had not sold out on Apple TV. Of course, we've talked about that several times here. I have some more stuff today. On his cancer treatment, he definitely regretted not getting basically help sooner, more traditional help. On his temper, he said that one person from CNET said, Steve Jobs, an apt portrait of a jerk and a genius. So when you're that smart and doing cool things, I guess, there's a certain amount of attitude that comes with that, I guess. On Microsoft, Apple Steve Jobs talks Microsoft, Gates, Ballmer in the new bio. On Google, Steve Jobs' final vendetta haunt Google. So basically, there's a bunch of themes here, but here's the thing. A lot of people are like, whoa, wow, what's he saying here and there? Because no holds barred. He's getting his last shots in. Most definitely, and it should make all of the fanboys go, But it's 650 pages, so I think it, based on the availability of time I have, I don't know how quick I'm going to get through it. So it'll be a fun read, irregardless. All right, government is a proposed rule, and this is under ProPublica.org. This is an article that I saw on Google Plus today. It was being passed around. On ProPublica.com, there's a proposed rule to the Freedom of Information Act that would allow federal agencies to tell people requesting certain law enforcement or national security documents that the records don't exist, even when they do. Under the current Freedom of Information Act practice, the government may withhold information and issue what is known as a Glommer denial that says it can neither confirm nor deny the presence of the records. Now, when someone says, I cannot confirm, nor can I deny, that means they probably know something, but they can't say it. And so there's a lot of folks out there that are objecting to this. The new proposal, part of a lengthy rule revision by the Department of Justice, would direct government agencies to respond to the request as if the excluded records did not exist. And I think this is a dangerous move. I think we've got the Freedom of Information Act there for a reason. And what could start happening is, and I'd like to see how they define which documents do not have to be acknowledged, but you have this, you have to have government accountable to the people. Now, they're not going to say that you ask for data, are they going to give it to you? Okay, they may not, and there might be security issues or whatever it may be. But, generally, Freedom of Information Acts do result in some paperwork being turned over. Maybe 90% of the page will be redacted and blacked out, but at least you have that. So Open Government Group says that we don't believe the statute allows the government to lie to FOIA requesters, this was Mike German, Senior Policy Counsel for the American. This was ACLU that weighed in. And so, in other words, there was a couple of groups that have already weighed in on this. So it is interesting to see where they're going on this underneath the current administration about being open. Didn't we remember supposed to have this big open government? Everything is supposed to be revealed. Okay, now the policy is we're gonna hide more stuff. That's open. I guess if you say it doesn't exist, you can lie about it. Then it's really you are. What do you have then? You're being open, right? Oh, funny. There's a big battle going on in the green zone. Now, there's a green economy. Reuters is reporting that Chinese solar companies could soon find themselves bereft of some of the biggest foreign market as Western manufacturers intensify a solar trade war and seek stiff anti-dumping duties. In other words, they want duties put on all solar panels coming from China. They want the Chinese to have to pay a huge penalty to bring solar panels into the United States and other countries because they can make them so cheap. Now, here's what I had. I had a thought the other day. I was talking with my mom, and the economy is in the crapper still. The government spent a huge amount of money bailing out Wall Street and bailing out the car industry, everyone except for Ford. Remember, Ford didn't take no money. And then a number, all this stuff that's going on that the majority of us probably, it stinks to high heaven and we don't particularly care for some of the actions that have happened. So here we've got this issue right now where we have such a huge dependence on foreign oil, coal, everything else. Everyone wants to get more green. So why doesn't the government say, hey, if we want to invest in jobs, if we want to invest in technology, why don't we give, instead of giving like this huge dollars to these companies, why don't we, every homeowner that wants to put a solar system on their roof, if they go ahead and do that and put if it takes 26 or 35,000 or whatever it costs to put the system on the roof, why don't we just let them take the whole doggone thing as a tax credit, or we give them the cash to pay for it? That's going to spur some economy. Now, don't invest in the companies like Cilantro or whatever they were called that wasted all that money. Don't give it to them. Let companies that are out there compete for business, and let the demand. We could get green in a hurry in this country if there was if solar panels were even more subsidized than they already are. I know if there's tax credits and all that stuff, but what it really does on the tax credit, and I've looked into it, is, for example, let's say you make $50,000 is your gross income for the year. On that $50,000, if you take your family deductions and whatever you have left, that's it's your taxable income. Well, the tax credit for solar, let's say your taxable income's $35,000 and you put in $11,000 worth of solar equipment. They've got some limits, and maybe it's $8,000. So you take $35,000 off, $8,000 off $35,000. That's what you end up for taxable income. Now, that's only an example. Obviously, you hope you're, depending on where you're at in the wage scale. But at the same point, you really don't get dollar for dollar back. You just get lower on the tax. If you go from 15% to 7% on your tax return, well, that's, that maybe makes up the difference. But, if they want to really go green here, start letting homeowners really, if every home in the country, well, first of all, they won't allow it because guess what we'll do then? We'll put our utilities out of business, right? And that'll make people be laid off, and they won't need to have all these nuclear power plants, and they won't need to have they won't have to have all this coal being burned. So that's going to put a bunch of people out of work. But one thing's for sure. Can you imagine how cool it would be if every home in the country had solar on top of its roof? And how much we could, well, it'd be cool, wouldn't it? That's investing in America. I guess that's Todd's way. I'm sure there's all kinds of, this is probably not financially possible. 2, people are going to say that's crazy. 3, and there's all kinds of reasons. I'm sure people shoot holes in this thing, but that works, really does. Or make the tax benefits so attractive that you'd have to be stupid not to do it. That's the key. All right, moving on to another topic. IT shops coping with overloaded 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band. Apparently, their IT folks are really starting to have headaches with this particular section of the Wi-Fi spectrum, especially colleges that haven't updated a college. I guess I don't know where this is. Abilene Christian University had 94% of their 2.4 gigahertz band completely saturated on a recent day when over 470,000 people were connected. And basically, and you're thinking about how many devices people have. They have their laptop, they have their notebook, they have their mobile device. So, like you're using three connections on the Wi-Fi network, and it doesn't take too long, and the multiplier goes up quick. So they're talking about how now colleges are having to start to invest in a lot more wireless compatibility. Talks about one specific school who is starting to introduce 5 gigahertz band and trying to reduce the, basically the load on the 2.4. This is only going to get worse, and we even see it in our neighborhood with 20 or 25 Wi-Fi signals that pop up in the list. And I always try to tweak my Wi-Fi devices so that they're on a channel that's not so crowded, and it still doesn't always handle it. But it's mostly because most people are set up to automatic and they don't set a specific channel. Well, congratulations to Mother Earth. We've officially reached 7 billion humans. That's a lot of people to feed. And boy, oh boy, we're adding 10,000 new humans every hour. And that's 1 billion every 9 years. Of course, they don't give me the numbers of how many people are dying off every hour as well. But I'm sure that we're adding more than we're losing. So it's one of those things where there's this trade-off. But it's just a multiplying effect. We're getting pretty big. Think about that. 7 billion. There's 7 billion of us crawling around this planet. And I'm just reaching a handful of you. Wonder what the bandwidth bill would be on that. That would make some servers melt, that's for sure. All right, AT&T has asked a judge to kick Sprint out of the antitrust courtroom. Lawyers for AT&T are scheduled to appear before Judge Ellen Segal-Hovell on Monday. And I guess they've already appeared, so we'll see what happens if the judge throws Sprint out on the AT&T antitrust events in AT&T's attempt to acquire T-Mobile. So we'll see here. Sprint is continuing to contend that AT&T is missing the forest from the trees, and they say that the cellular business depends crucially on market power and basically basically having enough carriers to compete. I agree with that. So we'll see what happens with that ruling. Hopefully we'll see something here in a couple of days. Siri has been ported to the iPad, but they're having trouble talking to the Apple servers. Apparently the Apple servers know an iPad is calling and are not letting Siri basically connect. So we'll see if they come up with some sort of hack to do this. But at this point, Siri is still silent on the iPad. The hackers continue to hammer away. Hey, Google is starting to eye fiber for network. And this is interesting. Google's has been acquiring a lot of fiber here in the United States for a number of years. They have a lot of dark fiber. As a matter of fact, I think they're the biggest holder of dark fiber in the United States. a Google executive has said that they want to start buying fiber in Europe, and but they haven't said where specifically in Europe. And they're saying that maybe it's time to shake up the internet service business in Europe. But during a meeting at the French Industry Ministry, they basically said that Google was looking closely at a potential project in Europe without specifying where the product would be launched or when. So if Google can shake things up in the United States, it makes sense that it would look to disrupt markets overseas. I don't know if they're shaking things up here in the market yet. We need to get some cities online first. All right, you're probably sick and tired of me being sick and tired of talking about Apple TV. But just real quick here, Bloomberg's reporting that Apple TV efforts said to be led by the iTunes creator. That scares me a little bit because between you and me, I think iTunes is a pretty crappy piece of software. But other than that, he is involved apparently in building in the development of the new TV. And they're saying that they have some prototypes made. So come on, Apple, let's see it. Article over on scripting.com, Dave Weiner's asking what's going on with Google Reader. You guys know I use Google Reader pretty much exclusively to build this show out. And, of course, Dave, like I, were concerned about RSS and how, basically Google and other groups are trying to kind of push back and move away from RSS. But there is going to be some changes coming up with Google Reader here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm a little bit worried about what they're going to do, but there's some good data out there where saying that they're going to be turning off the social features sometime next week. They're not going to allow us to share RSS items from the reader. We're not going to no longer be able to share like I do now, because if you guys know where to go on my Google Reader feed, you guys would see the entire show makeup in that. Some and or all of the data related to these shared items are only going to be available via Plus or something now, so they're changing that up to make it more aligned with the other Google products. They're saying that the folks that are going to be affected the most is the second largest of community of users, and that's Iranians who use Reader to basically get through a loophole for accessing content outside of Iran's filters. So that's kind of interesting that's going to affect them. Also, Google Reader's user who cannot join Google Plus because of Google's restrictive policies toward pseudonyms or who are under 18 will be out of luck for publicly or socially sharing content via Google for a few months. So we'll see what happens on Google Reader. I'll keep you advised as these things start to take place. But Dave is all over it, and we'll see where this moves. He's got another article talking about Steve Jobs, and this kind of comical. It says, number one, Steve Jobs is dead. Number two, for a dead guy, he's sure saying a lot. Number three, a lot of it is trash talk. And he goes on to talk about iTunes being kind of this not great software as well. And he says, boy, so Steve, it was out there trash talking everyone else, Google, Microsoft, Obama, come to mind, even though the guy just died 2 weeks ago. Does that mean the dead period is over? He goes on to say, if only Steve was a blogger who spoke his mind when he was alive, we could have fixed some beep, beep, beep. So interesting. And it would have been interesting if Jobs would have been a blogger all along and been a little more open, but that was not the way he was. Also, if you're looking for information on the origins of podcasting, Dave sent up a pretty good post, and I think Dave often gets neglected in talking about the start of podcasting. I definitely give him credit where credit's due, but he goes into the history and looking back to the developments in the early time of between June and September of 2004, when everything got really kicked off, and some of the origins and stuff. So anyway, I have that up in the show notes for you to check out. Here we're on Gizmodo. Of course, they are, along with everyone else, is covering the new MacBook Pros that have been refreshed. And really all they have done here is just basically put in a better processor, some more ramped up graphics, a bigger hard drive. So what the 13-inch, let's here. Let me go through the list here. Let's look at the MacBook Pro. The 15-inch MacBook Pro standard processor is now 2.2 and 2.4 gigahertz Core i7, up from a 2.0 and a 2.2, and with a new AMD Radeon 6750 with 512 megs of memory on the low end and a 6770 with 1 gigs of memory on the higher end. The 17-inch MacBook Pro matches the same updates as the higher end 15-inch MacBook Pro. So this is an update there. And really only an update in speed, nothing else. There was there is no update to the MacBook Air form factor. And really the MacBook Air probably was the one that got the least update. It was a very small upgrade in processor size and nothing too much on video whatsoever. But hard drive space was bumped up to 200 gigs and 180 gigs from 320. So anyway, nothing too exciting there except just a little more beefier processor and some more hard drive space. Cool article or cool video on how, and I used to do different things for my kids, but a toddler treats his military dad's virtual bedtime story like the real thing. It's very cute. It's a tearjerker. I have a link up in the show notes. This is things I know a lot of military guys are doing now, putting together a number of stories for their little kids and able to read for them before they go to bed via computer, even though they're not there, pre-recorded stuff. So I'll have that link up in the show notes for you to check out. Gizmodo's also got a pretty cool video about the do-it-yourself wizards of San Quentin. Yes, the prison, San Quentin, and talking about jailhouse technology. So I'll have that up for you to check out as well. There is, I got this. I've been reading a couple of articles today about mosquitoes. They've in down where's it at? Guatemala, I think. Yeah, in Guatemala, they've genetically modified some mosquitoes that basically when they mate, they zap the egg and they do some weird things. And basically make them I guess, not necessarily sterile, but it basically they're trying to cut down the mosquito population. And there's all kinds of weird stuff that they've done to genetically modify these mosquitoes, and they've let them loose. And you start genetically engineering mosquitoes. There's a whole host of things. I'm not saying that dengue fever is something anyone wants. And none of us like getting bit by a mosquito. But, birds eat mosquitoes. Certain reptiles do. So, they're part of a food chain that, I don't know how important that food chain is, but it just kind of sounds kind of risky to try to eradicate mosquitoes through genetics. And there was another article talking about some genetic stuff that's, if it crossed over into humans, could, eliminate our ability to have kids. So there's some crazy stuff they're doing down there, and some people are a little bit wide-eyed about this. Some locals in Guatemala are not thrilled that scientists released the genetically engineered mosquitoes into the environment without giving the residents in the area a heads up. They worry understandably about the environmental and human health risks that might accompany a genetically engineered insect. So, but they continue to move along with the experiment, and folks from the Scientific American has a pretty big report on this thing. Now, if you have a subscription to Scientific American, you want to go read this. You guys tell me what you think. Genetically modified mosquitoes that are basically being used to try to control the mosquito population, just to me sounds a little bit on the scary side. Doing this, they have, it's just too easy to get something like this wrong. Hey, cultofmac.com. China has 10 million iPhone 2 users and no partnership with Apple. And I said, 10 million? 10 million iPhone 2s? That's a huge number. I didn't realize that. Now, in all comparison to how many, they sold 4 million here with the iPhone 4S release, but still 10 million are using the Edge network, which is pretty slow. It's like modem speeds almost. But 10 million people are walking around phones in China, connecting to the internet with these devices. And China is hoping that they get some sort of an LTE capable phone in the future. But so far, Apple has not been willing to play. But they're still running on basically 2G data speeds, which is that's got to be painful. Let's really think about that. You go back a number of years. Now, we were all used to it, but boy, I'd hate to go in reverse at this point, that's for sure. Over on Gizmo, gotta love this one. You ever write a note on your hand, a reminder? What do you guys use to Post-it note on your car speedometer? What do you guys use as a thing to remember before you leave work? Well, I have got the perfect Post-it note for you to remember something. And when you see this, you're going to be like, this is a good idea. It's a watch. It's a Post-it note that once you write the note on it, you wrap it around your wrist. It connects together, and that way you won't forget. It's right there around your wrist. Out the door you go, and they cost on this website they're saying £9.80 for 100 watches. They don't have the American pricing on it, but pretty slick. And I think it's a smart thing by Post-it note in order to have you remember something. Get milk, whatever it may be that you're supposed to do on the way home, or going into a meeting. You have your crib notes on your arm instead of having them written on. There's now a true security flaw with the iPad 2, and I've got a link here that goes over on how that exploit is working. This is a true exploit, unlike the one from Siri, which was actually a feature. But this one here allows people to get access to the last thing you ran on your iPad. Nothing more, but at least if you're doing something and you closed it out, someone can grab your iPad and through a very quick 1, 2, 3 step, they can actually open the screen up and see what you were doing just before you closed your iPad last time. So forewarned out there, okay? And but people can get access to this pretty easy. Have you guys heard about Shelby.tv? Well, I swear to goodness, this looks like Michelle Obama on a computer, the first lady. And I'm going to put this up for you to see. And gosh, it's just looking at her real quick. I don't think it's her, but it sure kind of looks like her. But Shelby.tv launched in a closed alpha earlier this year, and debuting an easy-to-use lean-back experience for discovering videos that connections have shared on social networks like Facebook and Twitter's. All users had to do was log in with a Facebook or Twitter account, and they would be shown a continuous feed of videos from those networks that people were talking about. But what they've done now is Shelby.tv has launched an app that allows you to use this service and basically get a stream of videos right on your iPad of what people are talking about in your Facebook and in your Twitter feed. So it's kind of cool. I really don't have too much details on this beyond what the article says. I'm definitely going to load the app and check it out to kind of see, if it's following my, techie group, whether or not I'm getting a lot of tech videos and tips for the shows. So just for those of you, if any of you use Shelby.tv, I'd love to hear your inputs on this. But pretty good write-up by the folks over at GigaOM for sure on the particular service. One thing I used to do was I used to use a lot of different tools. I used to use a lot of different software tools. And I was always looking for, a little small program that would do this or that. And I don't have to do that so much anymore. I've got my base set of products that I use. I use a lot of net-based stuff, of course. But every once in a while, I'll need something. I'll have to go find some software. So where are you going today to find software? And I'm going to give you a couple recommendations here. And this is from the website makeuseof.com. And I'll put the link up in the show notes. They have some suggestions here where you go over to Catchfree. Catchfree.com is where you can search for software, and it gives you comparisons, tells you how many people have liked the software. Basically it gives you breakdowns of different types of software within categories and talks about, the reviews of them. And so it talks about, again, sites like catchfree.com and some other ones. So I'll have this link up in the show notes for you to check out. But this is, always use resources that are available to you to find cool software packages and a lot of times find freeware. And also by going to some legitimate sites and searching for software, oftentimes you can also make sure that you're not downloading something that may contain malware. So you're getting a more legitimate program, because I'm real skeptical now when I'm searching Google for a particular product. And I'll see a link and say, do I really know that name? And what I'll do is I'll take the name of the software and I'll say, X product malware? And I'll search for that in Google, and I'll look for, does it do any, does it have a virus, or just a number of things to try to see if there's any Google threads on that specific software that would make me go, ooh, maybe I shouldn't try this. And I go look at the hosting website, and there's some telltale signs you can do to make sure that there's a good contact and, all the stuff that would go along with a site that's trying to sell software to try to validate stuff. And then when I really can't find nothing, I ask around. But this is a great way to, and they've got a number of services here that you can go to kind of look for a variety of different software, including apps that are available out there today. A little bit of a runny nose tonight, so I apologize. Hey, I've talked about this company in the past, and I want you to remember it as we're getting closer here to the holidays, because you're going to have to buy cables. You're going to have to buy all kinds of stuff. Monoprice.com. Find every cable, adapter, accessory you need for cheap. Monoprice.com is, they have got everything for the cheap. I've got a little tool box. I guess it's more like a fishing box down underneath the where the mixer sits and where all my audio stack is. And it's a box, and it's got every imaginable RCA, HDMI. It's got different adapters, converters, BNCs, everything you need to basically have as a geek, adapters and so forth. What I pay, 30 cents for one, 63 cents for another, $1.20 for here. The stuff is so cheap, you're going to go hog wild. You will. I guarantee you're going to go over there and you're going to say, why can I buy one when I can buy 5 and still have it 10 times cheaper than what I would buy at Radio Shack or someplace like that? Do not buy any, and I can't endorse this company any higher. Do not buy any cable, power cord, USB cable, Apple dock. Don't buy any wall mount for your new flat screen TV. Nothing. Go over there and look. Monoprice.com. It'll save the most money of any site I've ever sent you to. All right. So I have that link up in the show notes. Actually, the hackcollege.com recommends it as well. And that's what kind of reminded me about the site, that they've got it all. They do. And if they don't have it, tell them, and they might be able to find it for you. Hey, happy birthday to the iPod. The iPod is 10 years old yesterday. And Jeffrey Powers did a great write-up on Geek News Central about the original iPod and some of the things that happened during its heyday when it was launched a whopping 10 years ago, and how far we've come, huh? The first generation iPod came in models 5 gigs and 6 gigs, starting at $3.99. And at the standard MP3 of 128 megs, we could put 1,000 songs on those on that iPod. Now, I didn't get the first iPod. I got Gen 2. So I never had one with a little clicker button like they had or have on its web. Basically I'm showing on the website. But anyway, the iPod is 10 years old. Amazing how far we've come in that time. Great article by KL Tech Muse at Geek News Central talking about cloud storage and the law. And this is a pretty good write-up here. And I never thought about this particular aspect. If you're a business or you're an individual and you store your data in the cloud, where's that data really going? Where's it being stored? And for those of us that live here in the United States, probably most of the data is going to a US based cloud. But what happens when you live in the UK, whether you live in Sweden, whether you live in Denmark? Where is your data going that is going off into the cloud? Now, many countries, especially many European countries, have stricter privacy laws than the United States. We know the United States has the Patriot Act, which passed after 9/11, enhanced the ability of law enforcement to intercept and read mail and other records. So if a European stores their data with a cloud company whose data center is the United States, would those stricter European privacy laws still apply, or would U.S. laws supersede? So this is a great write-up by KL, and I encourage all of you that are living outside of the United States, those that to listen to the show from Canada. We've got people that are from 118 countries or something like that is our count. You should ask your local Apple representative or ask your local Google folks, where is my data going? And what are the privacy rules around my data? If you're not worried about it, don't worry about it. But it is a good thing to think about, especially if you're a company and you have business records up in the cloud. Do they those information cross country lines? Guys, here my ups. I've got the replacement battery here. I just need to tear underneath the desk to replace it. But it's reminding me once again, yes, Todd, you need to change the battery. And does so at 9 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how often it beeps, but it beeps a lot. Hey, Alan Buckingham wrote a good article about the Windows Phone Marketplace hitting 35,000 apps. So while the Windows Phone Marketplace hasn't grown as fast as other app stores, they are finally making some progress here. So if you're looking for an app for your Windows Phone 7, there's now 35,000 different apps to choose from. And there's also, along with that, about 5,000 apps that are inactive. And about 52% of the apps are free. Average app price is $1.70. And so anyway, there's more apps available for Windows Phone 7. Well, that sucker's going for a long time. You guys can hear that in the background. I can hear it. And my wife keeps saying, "What is that? What is that?" There it goes. It quit. How many of you live in an area where you have direct line of sight, which within a mile or mile and a half, where you could get faster internet speed? I know there's a few of our listeners that are right on the edge of internet service areas, and you basically are kind of just within a few short yards or a half mile or a mile. There's a company called Amped Wireless. For those of you in a situation where you can basically within line of sight see a place where you could put a repeater, but Amped Wireless Solution has some pretty cool high-powered Wi-Fi, basically range extenders. And let's see if I can find the one that I want to look at. They've got nice outdoor antennas, and you can mount those pointing at another antenna and basically communicate. This is some smart stuff here, okay? So expand your wireless network's coverage outdoors through one of these. The prices start about $180. I have a link up in the show notes. This is a cool product, and I've heard people talk about this company a couple of times, but just happened upon an article tonight where they're talking about their new high-power outdoor Wi-Fi antennas. So pretty cool stuff. So those of you in those areas that need a little more range, this is the product for you. Hey, over on Engadget, they're talking about a pretty cool app. It's called Supernote, and let's take you some pretty cool notes on your tablet. Now, I believe this tablet is only for Android, and so it's this app debuted on the Triple E Pad Transformer and Slider earlier this month when Asus rolled out the OTA update to Android 3.2.1. But if you're a student, you're going to want to check this thing out. And this is, I'm serious, pretty cool app to be able to take notes with your fingertip or with a stylus when you're in class. And I think this is going to be a big winner. I wish I'd have had this type of a note-taking device before. It's better than writing on paper. That's for sure. All right, Android share of the tablet market has grown to 27% in 1 year, and that's pretty impressive. 73% of the market is made up of the rest, but Android has made some huge inroads here. That was news that broke this weekend, but good to see this. And of course, I'm sure when the Amazon Kindle Fire is released, we're going to see that number probably that percentage increase because they've got that thing so aggressively priced. We'll see where that's at, and I can't wait for that to come out. I'm really ready to get my hands on this. Let's see here. I've got a number of articles left. Now, the last set of articles are all stuff I found today on Google+. And I found a little trick on Google+. When you plus something, there's no way for you to go and look at everything you've plussed. So what you have to do is you have to set up a new circle in Google+. And I set one up that just basically says articles. And that way I put it up there in the close where it's very close to the top of my list. And then when I found something that I wanted to say for the show, I just shared it to that circle, but there's no one in that circle. So there's no people there. So I'm not bombarding people with shares, but I'm able to put that share into the circle just for my tracking. And here's a few articles I found. I found one about a new printed chip that could spark cheaper sensor networks. And it's called basically a company called Thin Film Electronics, a maker of disposable memory, who's basically put memory chips in toys and stuff like that, those little dolls that talk and stuff. But now they've come up with a way to have this, they put transistors and some more memory on a small thin film that cost a penny or two to create. And they feel now we're going to have a lot more smart tags in our merchandise and stuff. So pretty cool stuff. It doesn't have a battery, and it's cheaper to put in like RFID chips, and still has to have a reader interrogate them. But this is a pretty cool technology, and I want to read more up about it. But I thought you might be enticed to take a look as well. Hey, congratulations to the Ariane Space Group. They opened a new chapter in space history with launching their first Soyuz spacecraft, and they did this inaugural launch from French Guiana, and they placed Europe's first 2 Galileo navigation satellites into orbit. So this is the first Soyuz launch by the French. So congratulations to Ariane Space for doing this. All right, some mathematicians are pretty they're pretty nerdy, right? They're math folks heavy into math. They're just a little, generally, they're obviously very intelligent, but they do weird things. And, one obsessed mathematician spent a year calculating the 10 trillionth digit of pi, which ends up being 5, by the way. But they built their own computer, supercharged one, used a whole bunch of hard drives, and I don't know everything they did to build this, but they were spending like $400 a month for electricity. This computer was running so hot it raised the temperature in his house by 40 degrees, and they blew out a bunch of hard drives getting this done. Took a year to do it, but they had 180 days of downtime because the computer broke. But hardcore. They had the computer overclocked. CPU utilization was running at 1,851%. It's crazy. And but anyway, they didn't need a supercomputer. They did it with with a computer that you can really tell was homemade. But they figured out what pi was at the 5 trillionth digit. Why? I don't know, but they did. JP Aerospace was able Saturday to basically fly an airship to 95,000 feet, and they basically took the aircraft up via weather balloons. And once they were at that altitude, they started the movers up, drove her around, and then 3 hours later landed. So congratulations to the folks for a 95,000 feet flight by this airship. And I'll have a link up in the show notes. And pretty basic website. You say they spent a lot of money on it. It's running the default WordPress theme. So I'll have that link up for you. Hey, cool website to go to is hackerthings.com. And this is a cool site. If you're looking for gadgets and different things to buy for that hacker or geek friend of yours, and of course, your friend here at Geek News Central as well. They sell stuff like paint that when it dries, you can use it as a dry erase whiteboard. They've got a MakerBot Thingomatic. They've got laser virtual keyboards. They got switchable glass, all kinds of cool stuff. Arcade light switches, USB wall outlets, and just a whole variety of geekery. So I have the link up in the show notes for you to check out. And a bunch of different products there you can buy. Great offerings for potential Christmas presents for the person that you love, that geek in your family. If you are the geek and you want to buy your own present, you can always, say, honey, check this out over here. Over at laughingsquid.com, I got a good link up here to the divided brain. And this is a fascinating RSA animation about the brain. Very educational. It's 11 minutes and 48 seconds. I'll have it linked up in the show notes. Just watching the guy draw up the animation itself is impressive enough. But to listen to the guy that's speaking, it's obviously a very intelligent individual that knows about everything inside our noggins. It's pretty cool. So it talks about the left side of the brain. Oh, that's my right hand. The left side of the brain and the right side of the brain and how they interact and all the other stuff. Pretty cool video. There's also a great YouTube video I'm going to have you linked up. It's called The Pen Story. And The Pen Story is in stop motion. They use 60,000 pictures, developed 9,600 prints, and then shot over 1,800 pictures again to produce what you're going to see on this 3-minute and 6-second video. A lot of hard work, very impressive, a lot of wow factor. And probably the video of the day, of course, is the 60 Minutes interview with Graham Messick about the Steve Jobs book. And it's a 2-part 60 Minutes. I'll have next week. They'll have another interview on. But anyway, this is available from the CBSNews.com website for all of you that want to watch the interview. But get the book and start reading it. Okay, let me look for time here. Yeah, we're doing good. Let me go through the email real quick, and we'll get everybody out of here. Let me look here. When was the last date of the last show? So I make sure I'm getting all the last date of the last show was on the 20th. So I need to start on the 21st. So let me go back here. Dun, 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 dun. Well, quite a bit of email. Did I already? Okay. Got an email here from Trucker Tom. Hey, Todd, found this interesting link on Drudge Report. Radar technology from MIT that can see through walls. This is via ABC News. So I have that link up in the show notes tonight. Trucker Tom, thanks for that. Got an email here from Nigel. He said, hey, Todd, heads up for the Ahana. There may be a shortage of hard disk over the coming months. So anyone is planning on needing lots of new hard drives, they may want to start sourcing them now. And yes, this is true. There's going to be some shortages of hard drives because of the flooding going on in Thailand, and it's pretty bad over there. Factories have been shut down. So if you think you're going to be needing some hard drives, make sure you get them. And we want to thank Nigel for sending that over. Nigel is a listener down under in Australia. Got an email here from Steven. He says, hey, Todd, thanks for the Apple TV from Show 700. About to start repairs from some major water damage to our home. Looking forward to getting the Apple TV hooked up and running after the repairs are completed. Thanks again. Really enjoyed the podcast, Steve. Congratulations to Steve for that. I got another email here from Trucker Tom saying, that's University of Hawaii, researcher predicts tsunami debris. University of Hawaii, researcher predicts tsunami debris coming sooner to Hawaii. And as you know, when the tsunami hit Japan, a whole bunch of materials got drug into the ocean. Well, that whole pile of debris which are saying between 5 to 20 million tons, which is coming our way, could end up having a serious impact to our beaches here, and probably will be within the next year. They feel that the Midway is going to see the initial line of debris that's going to, basically wash past them in a couple of months here. But a Russian freighter that was going through there seen just this huge line of junk in the water. It's kind of weird, yeah, that all that stuff is floating, and it's kind of all grouped together, but it's moving with the currents. And they're saying that the crew hit lighter debris, plastic foam, and other stuff that can easily be carried by the currents and wind sooner. And they also said that they picked up a 20-foot fishing boat. They actually hooked up to one, and they're taking it back to Fukushima. And they saw refrigerators, furniture, appliances, anything that could float was floating our way. So it should be interesting to see what happens when that hits Hawaii here. Got a cool email from Bree. She sent me all kinds of Steve Jobs graphics. Many of these I can't show on the show because of, as she points out, be careful with those, Todd. Some of those are copyrighted. So thanks for that, Bree. It brought a smile to my face. Got an email here from Richard. He said, "Hey, Todd, Richard here. Hey, man, I can't get the show to download iTunes again. I don't know what is going on. iTunes will download the whole file, and then when it starts a process, it kicks the file out. I have tried to install the file 6 times. Richard, I think I know what's up, and we're going to do something different tonight. So it's downloading to your iTunes directory, but it's not piling into iTunes, and iTunes is kicking that file back. But I think we've got a plan. I will be testing that tonight, so hopefully that won't be an issue from here on out. Thanks for bringing that to my attention for sure." Got an email here from Gary. He says, Hey, Todd, Steve Jobs' book may be Amazon's top 2011 seller. I believe it will be. Got an email here from Jeanette. And Jeanette, I think you're trying to send me... Yes, Jeanette is spamming me. Sorry, Jeanette. I'm not going to read that one on the show. Okay, here's one I can talk about. She says, Apple's design wizard, Jonathan Ive, considered Jobs a friend, but he bristled when Apple chief took credit for his ideas. So I'll have to go back and look at your other link there. It looked to me like it was spam, Jeanette. So I apologize you sending that, but I'll hold off on reporting it on the show till I double check it out. And Netflix had their earnings call today. 805 Netflix customers have departed the scene. Thanks, Gary, for sending that via email as well. I thought I had that covered in the show tonight, but I guess I didn't. But thanks for that submission. And Allison sent me an email, says, here's an off-the-beat tech article, how simple telecoils can help with the hearing aids, past the clutter in concert halls, train stations, and museums. It's a New York Times article in their science section. So in other words, this is a new product or something that can help those of you that have hearing aids and be able to break down the clutter. So I'll have that link up in the show notes. And yes, I will definitely see you, Allison, at Blog World, and look forward to seeing you there. Okay, that's it for the show. We are wrapped for the day. Thanks for hanging out with me. geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com. Voicemail hotline, of course, is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 619-342-7365. Want to thank Spitballs for hanging out in the chat room. Oh, Nigel's in there too. And funny, someone is in there and said, in the morning, Todd. Yes, it's in the evening here. And that is a direct reference to In the Morning for the No Agenda show that Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak does. Quite an entertaining show, to say the least. But it's 2.5 hours to 3 hours every episode. So if I encourage you guys to go over there, you won't be able to listen here. So, but yeah, they do a good job on the show, Adam and John. There's some crazy stuff they talk about, that's for sure. Okay, I guess that's it. We'll see y'all next go around. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on Thursday for the next show. Until then, everyone take care and aloha.